Now, the Chazon Ish continues after he tells us that in order for a person to have this refined tendency called Emunah, a person has to be very sensitive to the things around him, meaning notice everything, pay attention to everything. You will see that the more Emunah you have, the more things you're paying attention to that you took for granted in the past. In the past, your wife gave you dinner and you said, thank you. Sometimes. When you have Emunah, you're making like it's a holiday. Well, she just gave you a sandwich with some bologna in it and some tomatoes. Why? Because you understand how many miracles had to happen for the sandwich to arrive on your table. When you have no Emunah, you get to work, you say, well, I got in the car, I got to work. Drove for half hour, a little traffic, took me 35 minutes instead. What's the big deal? You have Emunah, you realize it's a miracle that you were able to drive in the first place. Miracle. That you have hand-eye coordination that allows your mind to calculate the road in such a way, in such a speed, that allows you to move the steering wheel in the right direction when it needs to happen, while your foot stays exactly where it needs to be and moves simultaneously to the place it's supposed to be at different times, and you don't think about it twice. Brake, gas pedal for you. No, I know how to drive. What's the big deal? Who's telling this foot to do what it's doing? Who's telling this hand to do what it's doing? And how are the eyes recording and processing all this information so fast? For 35 minutes straight. The more Emunah you have, the more you understand this. But in order to have this, the Chazon Ish says, a person must be free of any bodily desires. Meaning to do all of these things, you can do them regardless. But to recognize the significance of all of these things in your life, you have to be free of all bodily desires. You can't be in the middle of some type of immoral desire and recognize the beauty of creation. You cannot be in some ta'ava, some type of desire that a Kadosh Baruch Hu says is not an appropriate desire, and still be a Baal Emunah. In so many words, if you're still wasting seed, if you're still promiscuous, there's no chance in the world you have any type of Emunah whatsoever, no matter what kind of Chassidut your rabbi tells you you're part of. Why? It's not possible. You have a problem with it? Go to Chazon Ish. He's in Shamayim, he's in Gan Eden section. You could ask him why. Now, once a person has become sensitive to the creation, he longs his solution. He wants to know, he wants to figure it all out. How does this work? How does that work? Wow, look at this. Wow, look at that. Look, all these different amazing things. Look at this. He looks in the mirror and all of a sudden he discovers things in his face. He looked at his face for 30, 40 years, never recognized how many hairs he has in his nose. All he cared about was trimming them so it doesn't look bad on his next date. Now he realizes that those ugly nose hairs are protecting him from disease. He never recognized the beauty of this. A perfect system. He wants to figure it out. How did it come? How come only here? How come not here? How come I don't have hair here? How come not here? How come nobody has hair on his forehead? He wants a solution for everything. He wants to figure it out. All of these beautiful things he notices about creation. He's willing to go through fire and water for it. Once he's become sensitive to the creation, he wants to know everything. And then the Chazon Ish continues and he says, this refined person who's deeply troubled agonizes still further when he reflects upon various aspects of the world and sees enough to show him clearly that the world was built according to a calculated plan, as if an expert engineer made a blueprint of the world before it was created. See, this person is not yet a full believer in God yet. But he has arrived at a conclusion that there has to be an engineer. He doesn't know what to call it yet. This is the beginning, the early stages of tshuva, no matter if you're religious or not. There are plenty of people that I've met in my life that believed that they were religious until they started watching my shulim. I have one woman told me I was religious my whole life until I saw your shulim and I realized that I was almost chiloni with my way of how I looked at the world. I was like a robot. Mitzvah here, mitzvah there. I didn't know why or who or when. I just knew we did it. Never really had a real connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the beginning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, before you start seriously thinking that your tefillah is going to have significance because you're talking to me, first you have to recognize my hand. You have to recognize that I'm the one running the show. So the Chazon Ish says this person, this sensitive person, finally has taken time, whether it's by choice or by corona, whichever one it is, to recognize that, okay, I got some time to think. Where did this come from? Where did that come from? How does this happen? How does that happen? How come I see colors? How come he doesn't see colors? How come the dog sees this? How come the cat sees that? What's the, how come they can communicate between each other but I can't understand them? He's sensitive to the creation, but he's troubled because of it. Why? He wants to figure it all out in one day.